Hello guys, so we live here at the Cape Coast Castle here in Cape Coast in the central region, one of the most historic buildings in Ghana and in the world, where slave trade majorly took part in Africa, and we are coming to explore this castle and see whatever it entails, the history behind it and all that. Come on, let's go. Hello guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. If it's your first time being here, subscribe to the channel, like the video and share it as well. Today we are exploring the historic Cape Coast Castle in the central region of Ghana. This is one of the most iconic and historic buildings in Ghana and in the world because of it being the last and major point where slaves were shipped from Africa to different parts of the world. The Cape Coast Castle was built in 1653, and here our tour guide will give us the history behind the castle and whatever went on here. Let's go.
Very powerful. It's written in everlasting memory of the anguish of our ancestors. May those who died rest in peace. May those who return at least find their roots. May humanity never again perpetrate such injustice against humanity. We, the living, vow to oppose. This was unveiled by our Ghanaian chiefs. 1992, during the maiden Panafest, they unveiled this one. I indicated that some chiefs brought some of their prisoners of war and sold. Some chiefs who happened to be the custodians of our land gave the Europeans land, built these several dungeons. In my own opinion, without the consent of these few chiefs, this evil trade wouldn't have been successful. So 92, they unveiled this one in memory of our ancestors. And to me, most importantly, they are telling us that we shouldn't allow such injustice to happen again because a lot of people were killed. But sadly, we still see this man around. Mr. Injustice is still with us. In our countries, in our societies. And I said earlier, I entreat all of us. When we see him, we shouldn't keep quiet. We shouldn't say it on my friend, not me. So I'm not worried, I'm unconcerned. Because Martin Luther King Jr. once told us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. This dungeon, huh?
So guys, we are now entering the male slave dungeon. This is where male slaves were kept before they were shipped to wherever they had to go.
So
as you can see, this is the male slave dungeon and it is underground.
It looks like a warehouse because no windows. But it was not surprising that they constructed something like a warehouse for Africans. Because they said Africans were not human beings. Africans had no souls. But a while ago they said they were coming to save our souls, make us Christians. I don't know at what point Africans lost those souls they said were coming to save. You can understand? Imagine how dark it will be at night. And because the dungeon is always dark, some of them lost their sight. Because being in here for about 3 months, later went out. The sun rays affected the eyes of some of the captives. 5 chambers in the dungeon, 5. This is the first one. Each chamber like this, 16 by 32 feet square, was for about 200 people. 200, so the 5, about 1,000. This one was called strong chamber for those who are physically, mentally very strong. Because they were strong, they chained them by their ankles against this wall. Look at something. The lockdown the chains into poles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Again, they blocked them up with a heavy metal door. 200 people, sometimes, if not always. The dungeon became very hot. When it became unbearable for them, started screaming, they poured water on them to cool down the temperature a little bit. When they poured the water, those who were very thirsty used the opportunity, cut their hands, Westo sucked each other's hair for some water to quench their thirst. 30%, as I told you, were killed in the dungeons. And there were several diseases killing them, because as we heard in the female dungeons, they defecated here, urinated here, vomited. Spots here, they ate here, they slept in it. With unkempt hair, rotten or decayed teeth, smelling bottles, some having sauce on them. Imagine the stench, the house flies, the mosquitoes, the pain, the hunger, and the anger here. This dungeon was used not for 5 years, not for 10 or 20 years. It was used for over 100 years. And for that bad long years, they never cleaned the space for them. Rainwater comes in when it rains. The water was supposed to flush out. Toilet, urine, vomit, blood, and all that. Down into the sea. Look at this. Looking closely, you will see that the floor here is a little bit higher than the floor outside the ropes. Some inch higher than the outside the ropes. And this, what is making this portion a little bit higher is the feces, the urine, the vomit, the blood, and all that on the original floor. And the floor of this chamber was like this. Just that archaeologists came from University of Ghana, Lagos, excavated this chamber. That is why we see the bricks here. From the excavation, they took from here chains, shackles, ropes, branded iron they used on them. As I said, they fed them normally twice a day, but little food just to sustain them. Most of the time, they were bringing food for them. When they were hungry and the food was not coming, they became very aggressive to avoid attacks. That is when they were dropping the food from the rooms. The one we saw in front of the church. Down here. So they picked the food from their feces, from their urine, from their vomit. Some refused to eat because how could a human being pick food from feces, urine? Some preferred to starve themselves to death. When they saw those people, they took them out, forced open their jaws with a device, pushed food in. They forced fed them, so that at least they would eat something to keep them alive. After treating us this way, don't forget Sundays, they were praying after for their businesses to flourish. We see here is the original floor, right? On the bricks is the feces, the urine, the vomit, and all that. And I talked about, we saw a tunnel. The entrance we saw earlier, the tunnel we saw earlier was right behind this altar. This is what they used to close the entrance. So as I was saying, when they were taking them to the ships, the men were not allowed to walk here or walk to the courtyard because they became very aggressive. So they walked them underground from here to the exit. 1833, when they passed the law to end slave trade, they blocked off the entrance to signify that slave trade is over. And this wall, what they used to close the entrance, is now dedicated to the souls of our ancestors. This is shrine, Boso. With the country, with the ID. You know, some Christians, so many Christians, never before, you know, it's like a friend of Trillian or worshiping him through Abosu.
So, according to the narrator, what we see right here is an altar of a god, and the big god or the highest god in Cape Coast in the form of a rock. And according to the narrator, the castle was built at where the god was located, and because of that, the people of Cape Coast were prevented from worshipping their god. And after slave trade ended and the whites left, they brought the god into the castle and now worship it here yearly.
Dead bodies were buried all over here. This courtyard was a cemetery, but for the British, because I indicated that when some of the captives died, their bodies were dumped into the ocean. But the British had this as their cemetery. The courtyard was excavated. When the excavation was done, only 4 graves had marks. 1 African grave, 3 European graves. The African buried here, Philip Kwaku. Philip Kwaku was from Cape Coast. The name was Kwaku, born on Wednesday. The father of Philip Kwaku was a middleman, one of those Africans doing buying and selling of slaves. Later that, Philip was awarded scholarship by the church to study in Britain. Philip attended Oxford University. They ordained Philip, became first African to be ordained a priest of the Anglican Church. They brought him back, worked with them for 50 years as a teacher and a pastor in the church. He died 17th October 1816 when he was 75 years old. Now indicated that slave trade was abolished here 1833. He died 1816, meaning he came or even died before slave trade was abolished. So Uncle Philip was preaching the gospel upstairs. His fellow Africans were dying in dungeons. And can you believe that every 17th October, the Anglican people, especially those in Cape Coast, celebrate him. They come here, surround the grave, say prayers, lay flowers on the grave in his memory. Last year they came. Hopefully, in a few weeks' time, they will come. So those of you who be around, you can join them. Therefore, you both you three Afro graves, 3 European graves. The very first grave here for a soldier with very ironic name, C.B. Whitehead. Whitehead was a lawyer by profession who joined the military. He died here July 1812 when he was 38 years old. Letitia Elizabeth London was the wife of George McLean. She came here to visit George, but she died just 2 months after she arrived. Rumors, gossips had it a malaria parasite killed her. Others, as when she came, George was having a girlfriend from Accra called Miss Ellen Bannerman from Osu. When Letitia heard that, out of jealousy, she poisoned herself. Others, as in the girlfriend, the African mistress, poisoned Letitia. So to date, we don't know how to killed her, whether it was parasite, homicide, or suicide. She died 1838, she was 36. George McLean came here around 1830 as administrator. He designed a bond known in Ghana as the Bond of 1844. It's a bond which paved way for the establishment of British colony in Gold Coast for 100 years. He was the architect. Then Governor Commander Hale, with 8 Fanti chiefs, Ghanaian chiefs, signed the bond on 6th March 1844. Gold Coast, now Ghana, became a colony to the British. So see, the British were our slave masters, became our colonial masters. Ghana is still a member of the British Commonwealth. And I don't even know what at all we get from the Commonwealth, because the Commonwealth games are never played in Africa. Malaria killed him 1847, he was 46. So see, Philip the African was 75, the Europeans 38, 36, 46. Malaria. They were harvesting rainwater from the roofs of the castle. They reserved the rainwater here, and the captives were those who were dependent on the rainwater, drinking, cooking for them. When the British picked some of the female captives to abuse them, to rape them, they fetched water from here for them to shower before they took them to their bedrooms. But they dug wells in town, water from underground, like boreholes. They were depending on those wells, rainwater here for the slaves. Each one like this can hold about 3,000 gallons of water. We still fill them with pipe-on water. We pump, we fetch water here when our taps are not flowing, for painting, for cleaning, and doing other stuff like that. So we still use these water systems. Any question? Let's see, one and only original door left. But you have to come. One and only original door left. One and only original door left here. And the door before us is over 200 bad years. This door is about 200 years. And it's made of wood and metal. Pitch pine wood. To make it more stronger, they coated the wood with metal plate. Cell. But this is not an ordinary cell. Condemnation cell. In other words, room of no return. Short ones, watch your heads. Tall ones, walk straight. So you can see there was a door here. When it was exploring, the door was there. When they wanted to use the room as a cell, they then closed the door. And those captives wanted to fight for their freedom, the freedom fighters. But they were seen by the British as stubborn or rebellious ones. But one thing we shouldn't forget is that they suffered for too long. And when man is suppressed, oppressed, depressed, or repressed there for a long time, one day you fight back, explode. Those who tried to escape and were caught, and those who constantly fought them, could be 2, 5, or 10. They will chain all of them together, push them in. They will lock them up with first door, second door, third door. The doors were 3. No light, no ventilation, meaning no oxygen, no food, no water. 2, 3 days, maximum 4. Sadly, when they locked the doors, they made sure all of them died before they opened. I mean, even after 3 days, when they open, see 1 or 2 still alive, they will shut the doors again till the last person is gone. So see, if I'm here with you and if you die before me, the only thing I could do is to sit or lie by the bodies with the chain on the ankles, on my ankles, waiting for my turn. And if any of you died on the first day, by the 3rd, the 4th day, after they will bring in some of the male captives for the bodies, gather all others at the courtyard. Those who come in for the bodies, they will instruct them to go show the bodies to those gathered, for them to see what they did to those they brought here. So they were killed here, they were murdered here for no offenses, just that they wanted to fight for their freedom. That is why the room is called condemnation cell. They pushed them in alive, took them out. Means confusion or trouble. The British adopted same palaver, but the palaver meant back in English. But in Ghana, palaver is a sauce. We also have palaver sauce in Ghana. So palaver to the Portuguese confusion, to the British to bargain, to the Ghanaian sauce. And this is where the buying and selling took place. In fact, the slave market is bigger than the church. meaning where they were making their cash was more important to them than where they claimed worship. There were doctors, nurses, merchants, company representatives right here. The merchants, the companies will set their tables, and on their tables, what will you even see? You just see guns, gunpowders, mirrors, fabrics, liquor, tobacco, knives, sugar, and all that. Those captives brought in by middlemen and other individual slave traders were those who were first brought here for examination and auction. You know, there were some greedy, very, very greedy Africans who were also waiting for their fellow Africans, selling them to Europeans. But some of them were not brought here at all because they were not purchased, they were not bought. Rather, they were kidnapped, deceived by the Europeans themselves. When they had these ones, they sent them into the dungeons straight away. Sometimes, the European companies sent their local agents to go inland to some of the slave markets, like Salaga. Salaga is in the northern part of Ghana. Salaga is where they had the biggest slave market at the time. They bought captives from there and they brought them straight into the dungeons. But those brought in by middlemen, like our own Uncle Philip Kwaku's father, who was a chief called Obrimpon Kodjo, were those who were first brought in here for examination and auction. So this was the slave market. Any question?
Are this original?
No, we renovated, we refurbished this hall nicely, and sometimes you rent this hall out for meetings, for conferences, for workshops and things like that, not for birthday parties. No, for workshops. We talked about him. As we discussed, he was here as administrator. MacLean was appointed the president of the Committee of British Merchants. So he became the leader of all the slave buyers here. MacLean designed a bond known in Ghana as the Bond of 1844. MacLean again a cheating husband. MacLean again became a judicial assessor, like a judge. Established first European court in Gold Coast. The court existed in here. That is why they named this hall after him. So this is first court room in Ghana. So plans are underway to establish a court museum here, and I think that would be very nice. Tiles here, original tiles. So material here is also. Very cool up here. You're in the living room. One governor at a time. The Europeans not coming with their families, nor their wives, nor children, because of tropical diseases killing them. They named West Coast of Africa White Man's Grave, Abrofundem, because some of them arrived there 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year they died. But you know, because of the 3 Gs, they were still coming. You know the 3 Gs?
No.
gold, God, glory. But some few days ago, a man suggested we should make it four G's and add greed. And even said greed should be number one. And I think I agree with him. So we can say 4 G's: greed, gold, God, and glory. So they were still coming. So one person, just one person, occupy this hall. And this hall is bigger than a chamber in the dungeons for 200 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 windows. Compare with the dungeons. 200 captives, 3 holes. Just half a window is bigger than the 3 holes in the dungeons for 200 people. The bedroom is right there. 5 windows. 5 plus 9, 14. There are 2 windows here, making 16. What about 3 doors? So they stayed upstairs, enjoyed the awesome trees. Africans, landowners, were held under for sometimes no ventilation, like the contemplation cell. Let's see the bedroom. 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 And from the bedroom you see Fort Williams. Fort Williams. The one up on the hill with the red top. Something like a ball on it. Can you see that? There is Fort Williams. You can see from any of the videos. Fort Williams, aka Lighthouse. Built around 1820. Fort Williams built around 1820. There's another fort, but we cannot see the other one from here. The other one is called Fort Victoria. Fort Victoria. And these 2 forts were built not as slave posts. These ones had no slaves, unlike most of the forts. These were built to protect this castle. Both forts are built on top of hills. Soldiers up there, so far, they saw enemies, pirates, coming first before soldiers at the barracks here. When they saw anything like that, they gave the information here using signals, light, flags, and muskets, mirrors. The signal, especially the flag, the color, determined the kind of information. So there is communication room downstairs, meaning there was no MTN, no Telecel or Vodafone, no Wi-Fi, but there was WhatsApp. It's true. The governor had a wardrobe. Governor's wardrobe. Governor's wardrobe. Wardrobe on the right. Look to this small window, and maybe you pick a signal from the port. So they always make sure there's a soldier here, looking through the window, and they pick a signal. Quick look, then you come out. Quick look, then you walk out.
Oh my!
Big time. Just about 25 kilometers before you get to Cape Coast, there is Fort Amsterdam. Fort Amsterdam was built by the British, so it was originally called Fort York. In the year 1665, just a year after, the Dutch also did well this time round, captured the fort from the British. So they also renamed Fort York Fort Amsterdam. to retaliate what they lost in America. So New Amsterdam is now New York. Fort York here is now Fort Amsterdam. This for that, you. They pounded gunpowder in the cannon, a ball fixed at the man, fire, boom. Some of the balls are with holes. Those with holes were filled with gunpowder. They entered the wooden ships, exploded. Those without holes entered the ships, created holes in the ships. Water came in, the ships gradually sank. The Ghanaians especially. Let me tell you something about these cannons. You hardly forget, but this one is not part of the talk, so you pay me after that. These cannons are called in our Kan language, P or Fanti, Premo, on radio, during 12 midday, 12 noon. They are can speaking FM stations. Let them say Premo or Premo to represent. Premo is cannon fired. The Europeans, when they were here, were firing one of these boom every 12 midday to alert people that it was 12 noon, because watch is well not common. That is what has become a norm until days on radio Premo every 12 noon. And I believe most of the radio TV presenters do say, but they don't even understand what they talk about. So when you meet them, you educate them and charge them. And please make your entrance fee. You know, today is Sunday, so let's go to church. It's not good to go to church late. You miss vision of the gospel. SPG Church, First Church of England in the country. Church of England is now Anglican. Anglican churches are all over Ghana. Methodist Church Ghana started from this courtyard. Catholic started from Elmina Castle. The church is now children's library. So school children come to the library to read. So this organization from US of A, they sponsored for the refurbishment, for the renovation of the library. They did very, very well. I give them credit. But after, see what they wrote here. See what they wrote here. A child who reads will be an adult who thinks unknown. This one there I disagree. Would you ask me why? Why? You know, there were some people, and still are, there are some people who cannot even read. They never read when they were young, when they were children. But they were adults. They are adults and they think sharp. And there are some people who can read, they read everything, but unfortunately, and reading has got nothing to do with thinking. You read just to get information, right? Processing the information is what I think requires some thinking. That was just by the way. This is the spy hole, those who are with me in the dungeon. This is the spy hole we saw from the tech chamber. Those who came late, I will show you this when we go to the male dungeon. It was a spy hole. And again, this hole served as a feeding hole.
Is it the one we saw?
You saw from the tech chamber of the dungeon. Right at the entrance of the church. That's why I said they could be passing for church services and they could hear the captives screaming from the dungeon. Imagine somebody like our own Uncle Philip Kaku passing for a service on a Sunday morning, maybe for communion service. He got to Pepe and heard the Africans screaming. You might think they're hungry. By doing them a favor, he can go back to his living room, pick a piece of bread, drop it through this hole. They will struggle for the bread in their faces, in their urine, in their vomit. After the same person will pass, enter the church and preach the gospel, sing praises, Amazing Grace, which was originally composed by John Newton. John Newton was once a slave ship captain. Later he repented, I think after making enough money. He repented and became a pastor. You know, possibly they also heard them all. Captives also heard them here singing, preaching, but they couldn't come out to join them worship because the Bible says, if we're in hell, there's no way you could go to heaven. I said that it's like heaven up here, hell down there. Any question? And this is the tunnel. Those who are with me in the dungeon. This is the tunnel which entrance is blocked off in the male dungeon. Those who came late, this is a tunnel. The entrance is blocked off in the male dungeon, which I will take you there later. When they were taking the captives to the ships, they became very aggressive because they didn't know what they were taking them to. And again, the British themselves did not want visitors here to see the captives walking around in chains and shackles. So they hid them. They marched them underground from the dungeon and they walked past to the exit. This was just a spy hole, meaning they were not going down, not coming out here. And soldiers stood there just to keep an eye on them. Move, go, move, go. And it's about 18 feet deep here. the construction done by manpower. So no wonder it took them about 50 to 60 years to put up the structure. Let's see where they were coming now. You can see how they look. Oh shit.
Got so big, Papa.
Ja, wenn es länger nicht schwimmen, weil es ist kalt. Ja, ich glaube, Brot kann man wirklich schnell an dem Ding kaufen. Für die Luft weg.
The tunnel ended here, blocked off. After slave trade, we can join madam. Yes. After slave trade, the British built multiple walls in the tunnel. They used parts of the tunnel as storerooms and water systems. Some years back, we wanted to move the wall so we could walk our wonderful guests like you through, and also to see what is actually in it. Because listen, there are some people, there are some historians who have the view assertion that when the British abolished slave trade here, the male captives who were still in detention were not freed. There was no ship coming to take them. So they pushed them into the tunnel and sealed it, buried them alive. Because they would not let them go back to tell the people what they went through in detentions, to mobilize people come attack them. So let's bury them to conceal, to bury the history. But to be open, you cannot deny nor confront this. From the male dungeon, they walked up in chains and shackles here. They were going out to this one. But see what was coming in during high tide. That's why they closed this. When they closed this, they marched the men out, joined the women to the door of no return, sat on canoes, 400 to 500 meters. When they entered the ships, we lost contact to them forever. The bigger ships and the slave ships were also called floating coffins. Because on the ships, the captives were packed like sardines, head in, head out, head in, head out. Very difficult for them to maintain. For about 6 to 8 weeks. So conditions of the ships were even worse than the dungeons. And some of these ships had very ironic names. Names like Jesus, Santa Maria, Amistad, God is able. So imagine a ship that carries slaves with the name Good Ship of Jesus. And these same people who came here with ships named Jesus were raping some of the female captives. So some of them were rapists. They have this as a cell. This was a cell for those female captives who said no to rape, those who denied them sexual advances, those who wanted to protect their little dignities left, the Asantua kind of women. About 8 of these women were pushed inside here. They locked them up with a heavy metal door, gave them food, water just once a day. I told you in the dungeons they were not referred twice, but in the cell once through this hole. There's a hole down here for feces, for urine, for vomit, for blood. Because you know, as young ladies, when they were here and some had their cycle all into the hole. After 7-10 days, those who survived were allowed to go back into the dungeons just to punish them. So next time they will agree. Also to serve as a lesson to the other women. And out of this nonsense, some became pregnant. They built stone houses in town with nurses and midwives. So they took them there. Few months, few years after delivery, the mothers were brought back here. Those who were weak worked here as domestic slaves. Those who were strong, later they shipped them. The babies, a majority died. The few that survived, they raised them. They started a school with them, Cape Coast Castle School. And you know, Cape Coast Castle and other castle schools formed the basis of formal education in Ghana. So formal education in Ghana started as the result of the atrocities some of our female ancestors were made to go through. So they educated them. Some grew up, became workers, secretaries, clerks, spies. They sent some away, became supervisors. Supervisor the enslaved Africans because they were having lighter skin. And some of these missed children, the mulattoes and the mulattoes, were named by their European fathers. Some local people adopted some European names. These are some of the reasons there are several European names along the west coast of Africa, especially Cape Coast. You'd hear surnames like Smith, Grant, Wood, York, Brown, Williams, Addison, Nelson, Thompson, Johnson. But if you go to a place like Ashanti in Kumasi, a typical Ashanti will hardly bear a second name like Johnson. Rather hear names like Chamantin, Crantin, Boateng, Boateng. Of the United States, and it's like she's getting closer to the seats. Kamala Harris, mother, came here last year and laid this one. Natural flowers in the white wrapper was laid by, the Americans don't do the excellence thing like we do in Africa. That's why I'm simply calling her Kamala Harris or Madam Kamala Harris. She has something to do with the history here because her father was from Jamaica. Jamaicans are brothers and sisters who were taken from here. That's why she's called Harris. There are several Harrises in Ghana. The mother was from India, so she had the opportunity, she paid homage and made this one. Other ones were made by some visitors, well-wishers, and sympathizers. So next time you are coming, I will be expecting yours. We saw the men had 5 chambers for about 1,000 men. But women had 2 because they needed more men than women to work on plantations. They needed the women again for reproduction because children of enslaved Africans automatically became enslaved. So the women had this chamber and the opposite one. They took for about 300 female captives. And children, boys and girls, who were 30 a little above 13, were here with their mothers and their sisters. They also defecated here, urinated here, vomited, menstruated. And one sad thing was, as young women, when they were here and some had their cycle, it flowed on them and flowed till it ended and dried up. Because there was something like a night law, no sanitary pad for them. They were not even allowed to sometimes shower, take their bath. They can imagine the conditions. The floor, not excavated. So again, what we are standing on is built up of feces, urine, vomit, menstrual blood, and a whole lot. Most of the soil petrified. Light ventilation originally from these only holes. Later they created these windows. They put iron bars there. Came from their living quarters. Because of the smell, the stench, and to avoid attacks, they were not entering them. They rather stood outside, looked through. You come, you come, you come. The beautiful ones. Those selected, they allowed them to wash down. Give them food, something to wear. So they will look good. They will smell good for them in their bedrooms. Any question? Door of no return. The French will say, La porte de l'éternité. You cannot do a tour of Cape Coast Dungeon without going through this door. This is the infamous door of no return. Final exit point for some of our ancestors. Door of no return because some of our ancestors were forced, migrated to the new world through or via this door and never returned. Door of no return because they went to this door and we lost contact with them forever. Most of them died though, most of them died. Because listen, some researchers are saying that in total, the Europeans had about 60 million people, slaves, in a business which lasted for about 400 agonizing years. Out of the 60 million, there's only about 10, 11, 12 million survived, made the journey. Let's take the highest figure. If 12 million survived, about 48 million were killed, died, perished. 48 million people is more than Ghana's population, right? And all these people we are talking about were young men and women. Most of them were between the ages of 13 to 45 years. Those were very strong, very energetic, very intelligent, were the kind of people they sent away. So Africa was robbed of her natural resources. as well as human resources, and they are still robbing us. This that you can emphatically say European slave trade had and is still having huge negative effect on the continent. Because what they used about 400 years to do, Ghana, for instance, cannot use just like 67 years to recover. Just that the pace is too slow. So after they took our ancestors, used them, developed their various countries. Some of them now call us lazy people. Some of them might even say we are living in shithole countries. But they've gotten out with the same people or their ancestors who created or who created the so-called shitholes in order to develop their countries. It was short and narrow drop. But why didn't after slave trade? Because Cape Coast was the capital of Gold Coast. 1877, the capital was transferred to Accra. So they were still here stealing our gold, ivory, spices to the door. Captives back down, squeezed themselves, one after the other, went to the door and never returned. You are also going to go to the door of no return, but I promise you, we are going to return. They were not using the door of no return. The British were using the staircase because the door was short and narrow, only for the captives. This beach is still called Abrofo to White Man's Beach, because this beach was exclusively for the Abrofo. So they built a wall all over here to prevent the people who live now from coming here. And so just about 2-3 years ago, when they constructed this, the sea was coming very, very close. All this place was filled. When they built this, they pushed the sea a little bit far. Like to turn, talk about drop return and say bye-bye. Then I'll go to this event and I'll take you there. The return, door of return, to break the chains of door of no return, or to break the cycle of the European slave trade. And we made door of return on 1st August 1998, 26 years ago, when Ghana celebrated first Emancipation Day. During the event, 2 caskets, contained skeletal remains, bones, of 2 descendants died and buried. Madame Crystal from Jamaica, Samuel Cousin from New York. They exhumed their remains from them to Accra. They boarded a car from Accra to abandon Fort Amsterdam. When they got to Fort Amsterdam, they said, no, we are not going to go by road again. Rather, we go by the sea, like the way our people were sent. So they put them on canoes, part of the back there. They were officials, family members, waiting. When they arrived, they received the remains from them, brought them to the door, to the courtyard. And the very moment the remains passed through the door, the chains of door of no return got broken. There was a ceremony here dubbed Great Homecoming. And after the ceremony, they drove the remains to Ascent Manso for reburial. There's a river at Ascent Manso called Ancestral Slave River. When they were bringing the captives, when they got to the riverside, they stopped them, shaped them, gave them bath, polished them with shabada to go. So this way somehow old, weak, with some gray hairs will look younger, attractive for higher prices. So they spent weeks here, never back. Last African bath at Ascent Manso. That is why they sent the 2 remains of Madame Crystal, Samuel Cousin, from Jamaica, New York, respectively, for reburial. On that day, August 1, 1998, when the jinx of door of no return got broken, Ghanaians named the other side door of return. We right now, brothers and sisters, in the diaspora, African Americans, African Caribbeans, African Europeans to come back to Africa, to reconnect, to help develop the country. This is that when you return, you saw the wall, both the pasted Akwa. Now Akwa means welcome, so you are all welcome. Any question? We are all aware that the dungeons in all the slave posts, slave castles, are empty, meaning European slave trade is indeed over. But sadly, painfully, we still see forms of slavery, injustice, unfair treatment in our homes, in our villages, in our cities, in our countries. Child labor, child trafficking, child prostitution, racism, mental slavery, We abuse our house helps, workers, wives, children. Let me use this opportunity to say this, and in case I offend any of you, forgive me. What is trending in Ghana, some part of Africa, and I believe some part of the world is that some people deceive some young men and women, especially young ladies. They promise them better lives, better jobs. Take them to especially some of the Gulf countries, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Dubai, Qatar and others. And these same people who promise them better lives, when they take them there, let's eat them. They seize their passport. Some of them work, they don't either. Some of them are beaten mercilessly by their employers. Some of them are raped by several men a day. Some of them are even killed. Some of them, when they narrate, when they tell you their stories, you realize that the kind of treatment, the kind of pain, the kind of agony some of them go through in those countries, it's not that different from what happened in the dungeons here. So we should go out, do our best, ensure that slavery and slave trade would never and ever, okay, in any way, in any form, against any of the races, because we may not know the next perpetrator and the next victim. And I don't believe that any of us here would like to be a victim of slavery or slave trade. But if you see anyone who wants to be a perpetrator, this is what Abraham Lincoln said, and I quote, "Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally." End of quotation. What I'm trying to say,